Hi, my name's Connie. In this video, we are going to talk about how to find a good piano teacher. Let's get started. Okay, first of all, the most obvious thing is you ask around for referrals. People that you know, in your neighborhood, or a lot of times if you're in a mom's group on Facebook, I see a lot of people asking for referrals for a good piano teacher there. So get referrals from people that might love their piano teacher. Second thing, Google. Most teachers have a website and a Google listing, and that is going to really help you find teachers that are in your area. It doesn't help you so much. Look for teachers online that might be outside of your area, but it's a good one for your area. Okay, step 3, and this one's crucial. However you find a teacher, Google or referral or wherever, you need to have an interview with them. And a good teacher will want an interview with you. They're interviewing you to see if you're a good fit, and you're interviewing them to see if they're a good fit. So it needs to be good on all around for it to work out. But here's some questions that you should ask during the interview. First of all, you can ask for a video chat. If they're close and in person, you could go to their home to have that first interview. That way you might be able to get a tour of the studio. But a video chat works just fine because you're just going to be asking a lot of questions, going back and forth. So however it works out best for you. Then when you are in the interview, here's what you want to ask. First of all, make sure you ask what level of commitment is required by the teacher. And that means how many days a week do they expect a student to practice, and how many minutes or hours a day do they expect a student to practice? And what happens when a student falls short? Because there's bad days and bad weeks, and most all teachers understand. They're sick, on vacation, super busy with finals, whatever. But when someone is consistently falling below those expectations, what happens? So it's good to know up front, like, what you're going to be held to. The second thing to ask about is the attendance and makeup policies. A lot of teachers have very strict, very clear policies, and you need to know that going in, so that you'll know if you're sick, what you do, if you're on vacation, what you do. You will find everything from, a lot of teachers have absolutely no makeup, no matter what. And some teachers on the other end of the spectrum, and this is where I am, you can have absolutely unlimited makeups no matter what the reason. And they have different reasons for their different policies. So check into that so you know exactly what's expected. It would be fine at this point to ask for a copy of their policies. A lot of teachers don't offer up their copy of their policies until you're in the sign-up process. Some, even once you've started, they send you a copy of the policies. Go ahead and get a copy of the policies right there in the interview, and that's going to answer all of these questions. Another thing to ask is what performance opportunities there are. Do they do recitals? Do they do juries? Do they do competitions? And are students required to participate in those? That's good to know up front. Then you could, if they have a recital coming up, even attend one of their recitals so that you can see all their students. You could ask for referrals also of their students. Ask if they have some numbers of the moms that you could call and find out from them what their experience has been. All right, very important here too. Talk about what your dreams are, what would be your picture of, okay, piano lessons were a success. What would have to happen for that? Or do you not know? Are you just kind of in to see how it goes and maybe it'll become a hobby? Are you wanting your child to just get some musical experience? Are you just wanting them to have an activity that might be kind of a meaningful activity that could go into something more? If you are kind of just have a general thing, that's good to know, as opposed to if you want your student to apply for a scholarship in college in music. Okay, there's going to be a different direction that you go. But talk about, do you see yourself performing, yourself or your child? I kind of combine this all together because most parents are looking for their child. Are you wanting them to perform? And where do you think they would perform? In like church services or playing around weddings and parties? A paid thing eventually? Would you want them to just learn to compose and maybe write their own music and improvise, or study music theory, maybe become a master at it, like a performance master? And what type of music are you interested in having them play? Just pop stuff they learn off the radio, or classical music, or just fun, whatever comes up, holiday music? Talk about that with the teacher too. Okay, those are some things of what you can ask to find a good teacher. I want you to avoid these three things. Avoid choosing a teacher based solely on one of these three. And unfortunately, these three are usually the top three things that people choose by. First is price. I understand that you've got a budget for what you can do, but let me explain too. If you go with the cheapest teacher because you think you're saving the most money, that could actually cost you money. Cheap teachers usually are not experienced and can't have you or your child make the transition you're looking to make very well. They're usually just following a method book and doing what that says, and they don't have a lot of experience in how to speed up that process. Where if you go with a more expensive teacher, again, this isn't like a broad swipe of exactly everybody, but a more experienced teacher usually is going to be more expensive, and you may end up paying about the same if you go with a really cheap teacher or an expensive teacher, because this expensive teacher can get your child progressed much faster than this one that might be a lot slower. So keep that in mind and don't base your choice only on price. Second thing, don't base it only on location. Again, it has to be as far as you're willing to go. If you're doing in-person lessons, they have to be within driving range, and you have to think you're going to be driving to dropping off, picking up at least once a week. If you have more than one student in the family, then a couple of times a week. So it has to be within reason. But don't just go, this was the closest teacher, so that's the one I chose. What are the odds that you're going to have a great experience and get the best teacher for you, and they happen to be next door? It could happen. It's just not going to be very likely. The last thing, 1, 2, and 3, do not choose solely on whether it's in person or online. Unfortunately, I think a lot of people say, oh, we're not doing online. We're sick of online. We don't want the screen time or whatever. And you may be missing out. So I would just keep your mind open, and you want to find a teacher who's a good fit for you, whether they are in person or online. That teacher would be really good for you. All right, here's some things to consider. I've done both. Before the COVID shutdowns, I was completely in person. I had employees, we had a music school, it ran like clockwork, it was beautiful, I loved it. Our students were raving about it. I was just loving it. It wasn't my choice to go online. But after the 2 weeks to flatten the curve became 2 months, we sat down, my husband and I, which we were business partners, and had a real heartfelt business meeting about, we can reconstruct a system for online, but we're not going back, because if we really do this, or we can just kind of get by until it's time to go back in person. But we chose to stay online. And here's the thing that I found is that the things that are online that make a really great online teacher don't work in person. And vice versa. The things that really work in person don't work online. So if you've got a teacher that says they can do both, they're probably not really great in either one. So I don't think that the platform matters that much. There's pros and cons to both sides. You really need to think about what's going to be the best fit. And you only find that out after you interview the teacher. So don't rule that out just because it's online, or if you're looking online just because it's in person. It matters more about the teacher. So you know those things to ask in an interview. And do not choose a teacher based solely on price, location, or platform, in person or online. Good luck finding your perfect teacher. And if you have any other questions, let me know.